On a wet and cold day in November, I ventured to the southern Albanian city of Korca. A moderately large city by Albanian standards with a population of 61,000 people. The town was founded fairly recently in the 15th century by combining some of its considerably older villages of Mborje, Barish, and Bulgaria into a single administrative unit during the Ottoman period. Korca is a fine city and a wonderful destination in and of itself. It is also worth noting that Albania is probably the most pro-American country on the planet, perhaps even more so than the United States itself. As nice as it is, I'm not here to see Korca today, though I will indulge in a bit of wandering and a meal in its old town. It would be a crime to come here and not enjoy a little bit of its charm and hospitality. Today I'm here to find an old Roman church from the Byzantine period in a suburb of the city, one of the aforementioned old villages called Mborje. I wander towards the medieval site down deserted modern streets of increasing sparsity, as most of these houses on the outskirts of town are probably only used in the summer by people living and working in Albania's capital, Tirana, or abroad. It is eerily quiet and empty as I make my way to my destination in the wet early winter chill. My only companions are some crows and dogs barking in the distance. It snowed last night, but that has mostly melted away and now everything is just dripping and cold. Finally, after a few wrong turns, I find my objective. This old church is unique in that it is the only remaining intact cultural monument in Albania from the 14th century. This was a time of anxiety and trepidation, as the once all-powerful Roman Empire was breathing its final breaths before it would be completely suffocated and extinguished by the expanding Turkish Ottoman Empire. The little church is in good condition, mostly due to its continuous use and being spared the typical fate of being converted into an Ottoman mosque. There is speculation that the church was first built in the year 896 in honor of Saint Clement I of Rome, not to be confused with the local Saint Clement of Ohrid, from a much later period. This Clement was from the 1st century AD and was the 4th pope. These were the days when the Romans weren't really feeling the whole Christianity thing, and Clement was martyred to the faith when they tied him to an anchor and tossed him into the sea. There may have been a church here or nearby that fits that story. However, it appears that the current church was built in 1389 with funds collected by the local bishop named Nifon of Diabolis, which was a nearby fortress. This would have been under the brothers of the powerful Muzaka family, Sebastocrator John and the despot Theodore. A Sebastocrator is a late Roman court title in Greek that basically means venerable ruler, while a despot in this age could loosely be translated as prince. This noble family would exercise somewhat autonomous control over this region of the fading empire, while still remaining a part of it. There is an inscription over the western door of the church that reads, "The divine and pure church of our Lord Jesus Christ Life-Giver was built from the foundations with the labor and effort and painted by the donor Bishop Lord Nifon, under the rule of the brothers Most Holy Sebastocrator John and His Holiness Despot Lord Theodore." It then appears to give a place name, but the inscription is not whole and is ambiguous, but is likely the period-relevant name of the territory that they ruled over. Today we refer to this territory as the Principality of Muzaka. This was a vast despotate stretching all the way from Castoria in modern Greece in the east to the Albanian coast of the Adriatic Sea in the west. The noble Albanian family Muzaka first appeared in the record in 1090 when the historian, and notably Roman Emperor's daughter, Anna Komnene mentioned them in one of her histories. By the end of the 13th century, they controlled a sizable territory and ruled from the Albanian city of Berat. They fought against the Serbs, a story seemingly as old as time, but were eventually overwhelmed and incorporated into the Serbian Empire in 1343. They did, however, regain control from the Serbs 12 years later as their empire collapsed. Despite their sordid history, the Muzaka and their subjects would eventually join forces with the Serbians to repel the rapidly expanding Ottomans, with Theodore Muzaka II participating in the extremely bloody Battle of Kosovo. The head of the Christian forces, a Serbian prince named Lazar, was killed in the fighting. However, Sultan Murad, the first Ottoman sultan to be killed in battle, was slain when a small group penetrated the Sultan's protective guard, and he was stabbed in the stomach and throat by a Serbian knight known to history as Milos Obilic. He was made a saint and became the subject of both Albanian and Serbian poetry. And, fantasy art. Unfortunately, Theodore was also killed. The battle occurred in 1389, the same year this little church was constructed, and the son of Theodore, Theodore III, would eventually take his father's place as despot. The engagement was largely indecisive as both sides and their leadership suffered extremely heavy losses. However, the Ottomans were a tide that would continue to rise due to their seemingly limitless manpower, and the territory would eventually come under their sway in 1417. 20 years later, Theodore III would combine with the Albanian national hero Skanderbeg and others to form the League of Leze to revolt against the Ottomans, and they successfully threw off the Ottoman yoke. At this point, though, the Ottomans were a true medieval superpower and would regain control by 1450. By 1453, they invaded and conquered the Roman capital Constantinople, ending an empire that had lasted over a millennia and a half. While this church is lacking in stature according to its size, it more than makes up for it with the incredible detailed fresco work. With frescoes of Jesus and Mary, scenes of damnation, and of saints and Byzantine nobles decorating the walls, this church is a cultural treasure. The artwork is truly special when viewed in person. The artists who painted these sublime theological frescoes are unknown, but their style in the period suggests that they also worked on churches in Kastoria in modern Greece, and on a church just south of Korca in the village of Bobestica. We are lucky that such a gem box of art has been preserved, thanks to continued use and upkeep through the centuries, and a tiny bit of Ottoman tolerance, as many such buildings were taken and converted into mosques. In the modern era, the church has been maintained by the Regional Directorate of Cultural Heritage, whom have done restoration work on the structure, including maintenance to keep it from collapsing in 2015. You can see some modern bracing both inside and outside the building resulting from these efforts to preserve the monument for future generations. Additional work was done in 2018 to help conserve the delicate frescoes. Of course, the work will never end to protect this medieval Roman church from falling into decay and vanish into the ether of time like so many historical monuments before it. I believe this work is of the utmost importance, as these artifacts of the past represent our stories as humans, fleeting memories of those whom have gone before us. War, nature, apathy, and what we call progress all threaten special places like this. We would be wise to remember that once they are gone, they can never be recovered again. As always, I would like to thank you for watching my presentation of the medieval Byzantine Church of Christ Zoodotes, or Holy Resurrection. Your viewership means a lot to me. Please take a moment to like, subscribe, and comment on YouTube, as it helps with the algorithm and encourages me to pursue more mini documentaries like this one. Thanks again, and Mira Pavsham.